Welcome to CRM Audio, the Business Applications and Microsoft Power Platform podcast. I'm Joel Lindstrom. Today I'm joined with George Dubinsky. We're going to be talking about all the cancellations from the coronavirus and what's new with the Wave 1 2020 and a bunch of other stuff. And I guess our top story is the coronavirus, or COVID-19 or COVID-19 or whatever we're supposed to be calling it. Thanks to coronavirus, my travel schedule is much lighter this month. I was supposed to be on a trip this week, and it canceled. And then I was supposed to be at the Microsoft MVP Summit in Seattle, and that has canceled and moved to a virtual conference. So we'll see how that goes. But thanks to that, I'm home for pretty much the whole month up until like the last week. How you doing, George?
I'm quite all right considering the circumstances. I'm on the last leg of my travel. It was supposed to be over a month, but cut short. So I'm going home in a couple of days. So I'm currently in Europe, in a rainy Switzerland.
And are you training people, or what are you doing there?
We're doing some training, partner Power Platform training, and that's the last. I think it's going to be the last in-person training for a while. So I have to say that Swiss are very organized people. Like they maintain 1.6 meters distance between people in the room. It's kind of prescribed distance. So it's like people.
And I saw the Swiss banned any meetings of over 1,000 people. So apparently you don't have 1,000 people in your training.
No, that would be insane. But we've got a few. So we've got quite a few people. The interest is great. I mean, in general, people coming over. It's surprising, like the Power Platform, we have majority of people coming. Over half of people are coming actually from the kind of Office 365 Canvas world, and it's a mix. It's challenging to teach because you have half of the audience who know the subject and half of the audience who doesn't know what you're talking about, and it's continuously for 3 days. Sometimes you do hit the subjects when nobody knows what you're talking about, including yourself. So, just kind of not bad. But I'm on the last leg and going home. So I was meant to go to to the Microsoft Summit and so on. But
in Barcelona,
everything
right?
was canceled. Barcelona, yes, was meant to be the next one, and. So UG, and now it's all postponed. Barcelona postponed. I'd say it's my take would be that even if they go ahead, they would get much lower numbers. Say a lot of people just not coming back, and at least not that soon. I think that the whole thing, this coronavirus, is going to have long-term impact.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it is, and it's amazing to look at the list of big technology companies that have canceled their conferences. Not just Microsoft, but the Facebook canceled their conference, Workday canceled their conference, Salesforce canceled their marketing conference, Adobe canceled their Adobe World, and all these companies. There's add all the people that were going to all those conferences up. I mean, some of these conferences have 30 to 50,000 people attending them. So then the impact on the airlines and other things like that, you'll probably be able to get some pretty inexpensive flights due to this as well.
Absolutely. So the airlines stock is down. We were just watching and discussing. The travel companies' stocks are down, and cruise companies taking a huge hit. They probably will be the last to recover.
Yeah, because, who wants to go on a cruise and be stuck in the ocean, refused entry to ports? That's happened to people already. So I'm not a fan of cruises myself anyway, just because, being trapped on a boat makes me feel a little bit insecure.
I suppose so. But yeah, on this last travel ever, whatever. But I had the privilege to travel to Scottish Summit. That was fantastic. It's amazing how different events could be organized. I've been to some horrible, let's put it this way, community events, and the only justification for accepting those events was that, look, people tried. It's one of those, like in school when you come in last and it's like you get the medal for participation, or you tried, okay? But this one was simply amazing. The guys did super job, better job than most of the commercial organizers. It's Scotland, it's like winter in Glasgow. The weather is miserable, and we get like over 1,000 people.
Because there's nothing else to do there in the winter.
No,
other than drink and
people
do dynamics.
travel. Yeah, well, yes, but people travel distances, and we represented myself and Neil Benson. We represented Australia, having traveled a long way around the world. So that was awesome, and meeting all people, fans, and so people listen to Serum Audio all the way to Scotland. Hi, Scotland fans! It's amazing, and obviously sessions were great because people traveled from all over the Europe to be there. So
Right.
We had Swedish gang with Sarah and Jonas in charge, and yeah, it was great. It was great. I was Saturday, well, among all things.
Was that just one day on a Saturday, or is it 2 days?
Yep. No, one day on Saturday.
How many different tracks did they have?
Pardon?
How many different simultaneous tracks did they have?
Good question. 6 maybe or so.
Right.
Some were quite busy. Some slots were quite busy. Like I was competing against 3 or 4 sessions, but there were busier slots, like I think with 6 to 8 sessions at the same time, but with great variety, and all sessions were quite busy, so it was great.
Yeah, and I think you can tell a lot from a conference like that by things like the call for proposals. If there's a lot of small print and you will give up rights to your material and there's a for-profit motive behind it, it has a different feel to me than community events like Scottish Summit, or like we had with Power Platform 24, where it's just people in the community coming together to share knowledge and learning, and nobody has an ulterior motive for doing it, other than maybe to become an MVP or get some contributions to put in our MVP.
I was just about to say that there is ulterior motive to score points, but it's kind of the same like ulterior motive when you donate huge amount of money to charity to get the tax break. That kind of ulterior motive.
Right. If you're independent, you can also find potential customers there too. So there's that. But as far as just it's a very good and shows that there's a lot of great enthusiasm out there, and places like Scotland that aren't the place you would think of for a big conference, although with what's going on right now, that's probably a good place to have a conference rather than having it in Seattle or San Francisco or someplace like that. Do you think that the coronavirus will have long-term impact on the way people work? I'm thinking with like all these companies having their employees stay home and do remote work, what they might find is this works pretty well, or hey, we can save money by getting rid of some office space.
And turns out some people are not that important, so we can save money by by firing some of the people. Turns out, okay, so it turns out it's not everyone is as useful as we thought. So yeah, absolutely. I think the impact is going to be long term for a variety of reasons. It's even though it looks like likely coronavirus is going to settle into some flu pattern. It's a severe flu, but it's a flu. It's deadly, but not too deadly. That's why it's kind of spreading,
Right.
right? If you recall, like SARS and others, uh, they were way too deadly. They couldn't propagate because they killed their hosts very, very quickly. This one is kind of deadly, but not too deadly. So that's kind of problem for everyone. But in the end of the day, the mortality rate is higher than the normal flu, but it's it's not killing like 50% of its hosts. So it's going to settle into pattern. And as I mentioned, if people were as precautious as they are now about like handshaking and hygiene and washing their hands and keeping the distances and not, not kissing each other on the lips every time they see each other, then I think we would have had much fewer deaths from the ordinary flu, like common flu. Instead of 50,000 a year, we would have had like 5,000. So I think it's going to settle into a long-term pattern. People a bit more cautious about being in closed spaces with other people and sick people. The masks that were prevalent in, let's say, in Asia, they've been around for a while, particularly in countries like Japan. Yeah, you could find people wearing masks like years and years ago, and not because they were trying to protect themselves. It's basically people who coughing and sneezing that were protecting people around, and that will become commonplace all around the world. So I say that yes, virtual preferences will always, from now on, will be a preferred way of communicating. And guess what? Like shares in the companies like Zoom Video Communications are like all green. They're all up. The market is down, but video communication shares are up.
Right. And that's where I think I just looked the stat up. Every year in the U.S., the flu kills between 16 and 60,000 people. So you're
in
more
US
likely
alone.
in U.S. alone. So you're more likely to die from the flu than from the coronavirus. But it's more of an unknown quantity and spreading rapidly. So that's the concern. But and it's worth mentioning that technology companies, including Microsoft and Google, are giving away premium features in their collaboration tools to help during the crisis, but also probably to grab market share too. They're not doing everything just as a charity. So Microsoft is giving away 6 month. You can get 6-month trials of Office E3 now. Microsoft has added the premium features of Teams to the free version. Google is adding premium versions of premium features in Hangouts to the free version. Microsoft is making the push notification connector that's premium for Power Apps, a free connector, and they're also released a crisis management template, which I haven't looked at. I know you said you looked at it some, and I don't know how quickly they put it together, but I think it's just a showcase to show how you can use things like push notifications and other things.
Okay, let me get on
They
my
have a disclaimer in
licensing.
there about this is not to be used. This is not for healthcare or something like that.
Okay, but let me get quickly on my licensing high horse and say the instructions to install. Looked into the app and it looks slick, but instructions to install are 43 pages long. Right. So why do you think is that?
All the connectors?
No, it's because the app is trying to install itself. Remember that for years we kind of bashed the approach where there's obvious case for relational database, but people continue to use SharePoint because SharePoint kind of free. Well, the license is baked into Windows and stuff like this. So we already have SharePoint for all the 10,000 users within our organization. And so instead of using CDS, that would have been a much better fit here, and deploying a solution, the instructions go on and on. They drone for pages and pages about how to provision SharePoint stuff, like multiple lists and so on, so on. So basically, I blame licensing or fear of licensing for this insanely long instructions. I have not looked in depth, but what kind of the first impression was that majority of installation instructions is actually to roll out things in SharePoint that could have been done in CDS in a matter of minutes.
Right. Yeah, that's true. But there's also, if you don't have CDS, there's more required to set that up, and you're probably right. That's a licensing decision that would have required long
attitude,
free versions
everyone
of CDS.
Should have CDS.
I agree. Everybody should have CDS. Your mom should have CDS. Your kid should have CDS. Your dog should have CDS.
What did you just call my mom?
I said your mom should have CDS. Everybody should have Common Data Service.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it should be as common spread as SharePoint. Actually, there was one great suggestion. Mark Smith popularized it. Someone else who did that on their blog, but Mark Smith moved it to suggestions on Power Apps to the ideas. The idea is that CDS should become an option when you go to Azure SQL. Provisioning CDS should become an option in Azure, and it should be called Azure CDS.
Yeah, I voted for the idea.
And the argument is the popularity will shoot through the roof the moment it's called not Common Data Service, but Azure Common Data Service.
Yeah, I'm for that. Although I see why kind of it's not, because it's more than just a database. If you just want a database, but I digress.
So is Data Lake.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So we've been preparing for the Wave 1 2020, which is only about a month away for some of our listeners. And over at CRM Tip of the Day, I've been doing a series of videos, and we have also some blogs coming up that don't have videos, but trying to get more in-depth into the new features. And what I've tried to do is, in an effort to learn them, I find, it's if I want to learn something, nothing better to do than to try and train somebody else. So I've been trying to capture that, and got a number more that I want to do. There's a lot of stuff in 2020 Wave 1, and I like some of the things that are kind of renovating some of the legacy features. The one that surprised me how much I liked was the sales forecasting. I looked at the sales forecasting when it was the limited sales forecasting in preview last year, and it didn't really move me, but I like what I'm seeing right now. So I don't want to give away any spoilers for that video, but I found that it's really something I think a lot of sales managers will like.
So there is a hope that they're gonna fix things like goals.
I think sales forecasting is what goals should have been all along. Because you've got the biggest problem with goals is it's really kludgy to set them up, and they're not automated. So if you want a monthly goal every month, you've got to set one up every month or come up with some convoluted, and I think we even have some tips of the day about making workflows auto-generate goals, but it's not straightforward, where this is taking your opportunity data. And I wish it was available for other entities besides opportunities, but it's taking your opportunity data and it's allowing you to view kind of a matrix kind of view that rolls up or does calculations for each category. So imagine if you have, the different stages on your opportunity and you want to see what's our value here, but then you can change each of those columns to be a calculation. If you want to, prorate it or something like that, you can choose a view. You can replace the standard field for forecast status with a custom one. It's solid, and so it doesn't do every forecast.
Is it like this grid you're talking about? The pivot tables, are they using standard grids, or is it custom controls?
I think it's a custom control from the looks of it, and it's as if
So
you
I
could make.
wonder
It's
if
as
like
if you could have a view, but every value in an option set has a column in the view, and you can create new columns in the view that have calculations.
Joe, let me let you in on the secret. It's called pivot table.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. Pivot table with the ability to create new custom fields in your pivot table.
Wow, Excel 3.0. But yeah, no, look, it's quite exciting
Oh,
that
and you
finally
can say one of those columns is a simple column, and Excel reinvented. You can import Excel data into that field.
well, now it's actually some of the features integration with Excel are great. Like with CDS, you go in straight to data and say Excel, boom, and it's not the Power Apps Excel add-on. It's no longer bulk editing and import like with Excel online editing feature. It's actually true real-time editing.
Yeah,
So
reminds me of an add-on we had back in CRM4. I can't remember what the thing was called, but it was basically pulling up a view and in Excel and editing it and updating. Yeah, so I think we used to fight Excel left and right, say, hey, use this instead of Excel. Now it's, hey, you're not going to pry Excel out of your hands here, so let's just make it work with Excel.
Okay, so what else exciting?
I mean, there's a lot of things. One thing that I see as a shift, for me at least, is traditionally, even up till today, if we had somebody do sales, we generally haven't been using the Sales Hub. And same thing with customer service. We've been putting cases or opportunities in a start from scratch model-driven app. And my philosophy for doing that in the past was Microsoft does an update, they'll overwrite some stuff. But what I'm seeing now is it's in our favor to start using those hub apps and here's why. They're putting the settings for those apps into those hubs. So if you want to change your SLAs or you want to change your opportunity settings to customize the opportunity close dialog, you need to be in the Sales Hub. So that in itself, plus the fact they're adding new functionality specific to those apps, and each of those apps has their own team with their own budgets, and they're trying to make those apps compelling for people to use. So I'm starting to say, hey, if there's sales or customer service, let's use the hub. And this was kind of, I was thinking about it, like that kind of went against what I believed, but then I thought, you know what, if we have a marketing project that uses Dynamics Marketing, we use the Dynamics Marketing app. If we have a field service project, we use the field service app. So that's really not any different than those apps. And I think to me, it comes down to how much are you in that world. So if sales is your thing and you're using opportunities, you're using leads, you're using the sales insights features, you want to be in the Sales Hub. If you are a guy who occasionally does an opportunity but then does other things, mainly custom entities, then I think you can make the call like, that's not really sales. That should be just a custom model-driven app.
Okay, I kind of get it where you're coming from. To me, it's nice to see that Microsoft, I think, starting to pivot towards functionality rather than schema. So we've been saying all along, and I think maintain the movement called free the entities. We kept saying that the value of solutions like sales is not in the entities, because you can reproduce the data model in a matter of hours. The value is in the things like sales forecasting and applying AI to the numbers and crunching them and producing some insights. So that's where the value is in functionality. And therefore, we maintain that attempts to restrict entities and license
Mm-hmm.
use of specific entities, a ridiculous motion.
Yeah, I
It's
agree
nice to
with
see
that,
that.
but I would like to see somebody try to use the field service entities without really using field service. I don't think it can be done because it's so intertwined and intermeshed.
You can use URS
You
without
can use
using field
scheduling, but
service.
try and use like part of a work order. You can't do it.
Why would you?
Right. That's a question. But then where do you draw the line? So would you say then things like,
No. But why would you want to license, work order?
no, you wouldn't, but I'm saying freeing the work order entity gives me nothing. I can't do anything useful with just the work order entity.
Exactly. You just proved my point.
Well,
Yeah.
then
The
where do you
the
draw the line
entity is
with?
worthless.
So would you say something like the Teams integration, which is currently only available if you have Dynamics, I think sales. Is it okay in your opinion for them to restrict that to people that have Dynamics licenses and not give that to people that have custom model driven apps? Where do you draw the line that, hey, this is a function that makes sense to be a
That's
Dynamics premium feature?
Yeah. You started to push my goodwill in here. I don't know. I would say like features like team integration that should be available the same way as SharePoint. If you recall, initially wasn't available for CDS, and now it is. And I think integration features with external ones, with external providers and external applications, they should be available at the base level, at CDS level. Simply because, look, as Microsoft, you're getting your money worth elsewhere, right? So when you're integrating with SharePoint, you're getting SharePoint license or Office money. You're integrating with Teams, it's the same Office money.
Right.
So why do you want to license integration? That's not what you license. You should license, brains, something that is unique, something that you
so maybe
create
something like
using-
Sales Insights that is a premium sales feature that makes sense to be there.
Absolutely. Which kind of brings me to the point, you know that I was getting to it, right? The reinforcement of team member.
Yeah. Which we have a video coming up about, by the way.
Pardon?
One of our videos coming up about 2020 Wave 1 is on Tip of the Day is about team member enforcement.
So what's happening, what I don't quite understand, so they lock it down, but if you're not compliant, you still have a bit of time. So new users are getting locked down. So new licenses purchased after 1st of April will get a lockdown on the features, right? But if you have existing one, I believe you still have a few months
till
to
June
compliant.
30th. Till June 30th, and I'll tell you why that is, because the problem Microsoft shot themselves in the foot with is that they never enforced team member licenses, nor really gave a way to ensure compliance with it, because there was no way to enforce the limitations. So they have these new apps, which are the mechanism to control the number of custom entities, etc. But those come out April 1st or whenever you get wave 1. And unless you turn the preview on ahead of time, it's impossible to get compliant until you have those apps. Then you have to do some work to update your configuration. So it doesn't make sense to, on the day that the vehicle that I can get compliant with, it's like saying, gas cars are banned on April 1st, but you can't get the Tesla until April 1st. You'd basically be setting up yourself to get a lot of support calls with, hey, why can't my users log in? Sure, they could get the preview, but no large company is generally going to be happy running pre-release stuff in production.
Let's be honest. Even Microsoft sales reps, they did encourage use of those licenses.
Oh yeah,
in the gray area.
I've got some examples where that happened 6 months ago, and they said, yeah, get the team member. So that's when you invite the Microsoft sales rep on the call to explain it to the customer. This episode is brought to you by Inogic, who's proud to introduce their new Kanban Board for Dynamics 365 and Power Apps. Kanban Board is a productivity app that helps you visualize your Dynamics 365 and Power Apps data in a Kanban view. With the ability to categorize your data into lanes, it helps you do a quick review of your records in a card-based view and easily identify the status of the records. A visual tool helps you move the records across lanes and quickly update the underlying field values. Besides this, it allows you to do quick action shortcuts to record activities against these records without very many clicks. Kanban Board is available as a control that you can configure for any view in Dynamics 365 customer engagement and CDS environments. We thank Inogic for sponsoring CRM Audio.
That's right. Speaking of Teslas, one of the demos I did, that was quite interesting. That, of course, I met during the Scottish Summit, I met none other than Ben Vollmer.
Yeah.
Is there any public event? Public event is not a public event unless Ben Vollmer is there, right?
Oh, I've got a Ben Vollmer story for you. You know, we have the Ben Vollmer song, which has been extremely popular.
Yes.
It's now, I think, the number one thing if you search on YouTube for Ben Vollmer. The Ben Vollmer song is more popular than Ben Vollmer's YouTube channel. But so Ben sent me a text yesterday saying, "Hey, I need to get a jingle made. Who is the guy that wrote that song about me?" So I referred him to the guy in India who wrote the Ben Vollmer song. So I can imagine he's sending him a text right now, or a message right now saying, "Hi, my name is Ben. You wrote a song about me." Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah. What's your address? Yeah. I'm outside of your house. No, Ben obviously was presenting something about something, field service, something. Which reminds me about the whole idea of Internet of Temperatures. I was doing the talk about one of the true no-code features in the entire platform. You know how there's debate about, low code, no power, which I don't particularly like this slogan because it's divisive.
Right.
And people say, "Ooh, Canvas and Power Automate, they are low-code platforms, hooray!" And I'm saying, "Hey guys, hello, over here, we have this no-code, not only low-code, like absolutely no-code platform features that are present there. And I know of the two of those features. One is just basically good old model-driven apps. You can build something useful through configuration only. And the other feature is custom connectors. Again, through configuration only, you kind of open up your systems to the world. So what I did, I demonstrated like how normal people, like in Internet of Temperatures, how normal people measure temperature, right? You use either weather service or you have some IoT devices. So I demonstrated measuring temperature remotely in Sydney, outside of my house, and I used a very expensive IoT device. I used my Tesla that is currently parked there, and I wrote a custom connector for the Tesla to basically check if car is asleep. If car is asleep, then wake it up and query the data. And one of the dozens of data points it returns is inside and outside temperature. That's how you measure temperature outside your house without writing a single line of code, of course. You're speechless.
I'm speechless. So buy it. So what you're saying is I need to go buy a Tesla so that I can tell the temperature at home when I'm away from home. Seems like I could find a less expensive way to do that.
You probably can, but that's fun. And that was fun. But no, what do you think about this kind of underappreciation?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think this whole debate is kind of pointless because, arguably model-driven apps are lower code than Canvas apps are. I mean, because if you are taking your typical Dynamics deployment, some of them are really complex and have a bunch of web resources and JavaScript. But I would say the average one has maybe a little bit of JavaScript in it, but it's mainly configuration and workflows and other things. Whereas a Canvas app is typically all Canvas apps have a level of expressions that are more complex than just point and click configure. And so that's where it's really no difference. You have things that a lot of people who aren't developers can do to build a functioning app, and then you've got some super cool things that developers can do to build custom connectors and other things like that. So I really don't see that big of a difference in why that's become. I think it's here's what it is, in my opinion, is with Canvas apps, it's possible to do things that just really outside the box, put the components where you want, find ways to do things that as a non-developer. And in doing that, it's easy to get very exuberant and enthusiastic and start tweeting about how great this is and I didn't need any developers. But when it comes down to it, that's not really, when it comes to apps that scale and can be deployed in an enterprise scenario with more than 2 users, and that will be still working 6 months down the road, that aren't just demoware. You need architects, you need developers.
So I'm just trying to find an analogy in the real world, and to me, it's like comparing different sports. For example, you have Canvas apps. It's like playing darts. If you want to be a world champion in it, right, you can, and you'd be training and kind of taking it seriously and kind of training. You train different parts of your body, like you need a steady hand and eye coordination and all sort of things. But at the same time, as a citizen, you can walk into a pub and play darts, right, and say, this is great sport. You can say drinking beer, right? So that's kind of Canvas. And then you've got model-driven app, which is kind of a bit boring, like running a marathon, but you can't just show up and run a marathon. You need to prepare. You need to have level of fitness. You need to have, gear, like running shoes, preferably. You can't just show up. And this level of fitness, this level of preparation before you even do activity, that's dealing with, data model. That's what actually I think the barrier of entry is in the eyes of a lot of people, that you need to figure out your data model first. And by working that out, you're already halfway there. That's why it's codeless, because you invest, you already done the investment, not into coding, but working out what your data is, how things relate to each other, and so on. So it's kind of a level of sport where you need to invest and you need to be fit before you even start playing. But you know what I mean. It's in Canvas apps require with Canvas you can start very quickly and throwing things together, and it's great, right? Because you use whatever you have, it will work around that. But the price you pay with the growing complexity of the expressions, because once you want things to work together, you have to kind of do it yourself. If you need security, you have to wire it up yourself. If you need kind of some behavior of relational entities, you have to wire it up yourself. Whilst in model-driven app, we take a lot of it for granted. You need lookup. Yeah, it's already there. I don't have to do anything.
Right.
It's just a matter of setting up the data. So it's different approach. It's just a matter of where your investment is. Is it upfront, like in a model-driven app, and then you enjoy, fruits of your investment by not writing code, or it's throughout the app, and then you still write in low code as opposed to professional development environments. But your level of investment kind of spread in time when you write in Canvas. So it's just different kind of emphasis on different stages of development. So,
right, I think both can benefit from the other side. I don't really think there are different sides, because if you really look at it, if you look at the Canvas apps that the people the really good examples of Canvas apps that look really good, like my colleague Hardit made basically a WhatsApp clone, not just as a project, but he invested a lot of time in doing that. And in the process, he's getting into writing code, but also people who write code. I've heard you say yourself that there's things that you used to do with code and plugins that now you'll use low code, no code approaches because it's a waste of your time to do those things manually or to write them from scratch. I mean, I've known people who write binary. Nobody does that anymore, mostly, unless they do it for some obscure hobby, because there's easier ways. And every type of computer language is some sort of abstraction anyway. So
yeah, you go up and up, and then you've got flow of leaky abstractions.
I just don't. I don't want people to, like, developers shouldn't create unnecessary barriers for people becoming developers, because at some point, a citizen developer can learn how to be a developer, at least a junior developer, and learn. Now, take me for example. I am now a certified developer because I passed the MB400 exam. So you said I wasn't a developer. I'm now certified developer, Joel Lindstrom.
Remember I just talked about the medals you get for participation? That's your medal for participation.
Okay.
But no, congratulations. And I think you did answer one of my dev questions not so long ago, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And the thing with that exam, which it's new. I took it when it was in beta, so there were some typos and other things on it. I thought it was a decent exam. It's really not a developer exam. I think it's more of a technical architect exam. I'm not going to give away secrets from the test, but at least half the questions are things that I don't consider development. What I tell people is look at the outline that's available on the page. There's a link a lot of people miss where you can download a Word document with an outline, and half the topics are things like business process flows and other things like that, or CDS environment management, things that really I would consider to be more of a technical architect, where you don't have to be the one writing the script, but you should be able to look at a TypeScript or JavaScript file and say, this is what this is going to do. These are the fields involved. This is the operations doing, or you should know the kind of order of operations in making a plugin, even if, like me, you're not generally developing the plugins. Well, Shawn,
Very cool.
You've been going to school, I hear.
Yes, I have. I've been extending the Power Platform to the kiddos. So something I've always wanted to do. Yeah, something I've always wanted to do as part. We came out of the 365 Power Up Tampa sessions a couple weekends ago, and when we were planning that, I wanted to do a hackathon, but with kids. And what it ended up becoming is a way for me to work with the kids at a local elementary school, group of fifth graders. And what we did is we did a Minecraft coding session around the Hour of Code module, AI for Good. And then after that, the next day, we did a session on Power Virtual Agents on how you could create chatbots to help people understand more about climate change and fire safety. And the cool part with the Power Virtual Agents, the topic was a little over their head, a little advanced, but it gave them a really good insight to artificial intelligence. And then what we did is we used the suggested topics capability of Power Virtual Agents, where you go to any FAQ site. I chose nasa.gov because they have a really good climate change FAQ. And we pulled in those topics, and then we took a few of them and we customized the topics, had the kids come up with the trigger phrases, had them come up with the conversational aspects of how we would present that information. And the one that they had the most fun with is, do cow farts or cow burps? Which one of those is worse for the environment?
Okay.
Which one do you think is?
Probably the burps.
You are correct, sir, because in the digestion of the food in the stomach, creates more methane than.
Well, and you
than
have
the
multiple
furnace.
stomachs going on too.
Yes, you do. There you go. So yeah, so that was really fun. But they got to really understand a little bit more about artificial intelligence by using Power Virtual Agents. And what I'm hoping to do this summer is to do. They have a summer camp, and I'm hoping to do a little Canvas Power App development with them, and help them understand a little bit more about the Power Platform. So really good opportunity. I was very excited about it.
So, like, what were the best comments you got from these bright young minds?
Well, um, they loved the hour of code with Minecraft, and they actually were thinking that I played Minecraft. I don't, but they were asking me if I knew how to get a creeper to drop a disc. I said no, and he go, "Oh, well, you got to get a skeleton to kill him." Oh, okay,
Well,
okay.
my son tells me now the creepers explode underwater, so now you're not even safe in the water anymore.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, they were really fascinated with the concept of reforestation, and because that's at the end of the hour of code, where once you save the village from the fire from the wildfire, you can reforest and repopulate the little area with animals, and all I was going around to each of the students and seeing how they were doing, and all of a sudden you heard from the corner of the room, "There's too many sheep. I put too many sheep." So yeah, it was really really rewarding and so much fun.
So, did you have any bad
I'm
kids
gonna.
like try and burn the village down or anything?
There was one kid that just kept digging. Then he started just mining for stuff. He didn't want to reforest. He was then playing Minecraft. So, to each his own. So, but
Cool.
yeah, what I hope to do is package up the content that I did and share it out with the community. So maybe we can get people to do it in other areas.
Awesome. So, what's your take on the Wave 1 2020 field service stuff?
A lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff. I'm looking forward to the private preview of the new schedule board. That's I've seen a glimpse of that, and that looks really really cool. I'm also excited about time entry. That's going to be very very powerful for field service engagements. We've always tried to either do it on our own, or if there's a PSA install, we're using the time entry entities from PSA. So with the new capability, we're able to have that functionality without having to do all that, and we could use the booking status changes to trigger timesheet entries. The one thing that I would say I wish they had was a timesheet view, as opposed to just either time entries against a work order or a list of time entries. There's no real timesheet, so I think that there's an opportunity there for some improvement. But maybe I'll come up with something on my own, so that'll be neat. The other things I'm really excited about are the potential for the IoT overlays with service history. So you could see the actual events that are being triggered by your IoT devices in line with the service history of those assets. That's going to be, and it's going to provide some really compelling information for customers. And I really like the start that they did to provide Power BI reporting within field service. Although it's canned and not editable, it's a nice start, and it gives some ideas that I think could bring about the creation of some custom Power BI reports for customers, which I think is neat.
What is this? Is this something that's just part of the application now, or is there something else you need to install to use that?
No, it's part of the application. Nothing else you need to install. They're actually embedding, and Microsoft is for all intents and purposes, paying for the Power BI to be embedded in that app. So you're not being, if you don't have Power BI licensing, you still can access that information. So that's pretty cool. But that's why you can't edit it or change it. What they're looking to do is, from what I understand, get feedback on what's in that report, and as they get enough feedback, then they'll make changes accordingly. So,
Awesome.
But yeah, it's some cool stuff. I'm
is
really
it
excited.
Kind
about
of along the
coming.
lines of what's in customer service and sales insights? Kind of canned reports?
Yeah, along those lines. It doesn't really go into like resource utilization to the degree I'd like and stuff, but it's on par with sales and customer service insights. Yeah, that level of reporting.
Awesome.
A new feature just got released for Power Virtual Agents, where you can actually edit the flow from within the authoring canvas, which is a big deal, because then you don't have to leave the authoring canvas and go out of Power Virtual Agents to modify the flow and then come back and make sure it's connected right. That I thought was a really nice new addition. That just came out about a week ago, I believe.
Yeah, so that's kind of like what we have in Canvas apps, with the ability to create flows from there too.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good.
It wasn't in place with the Power Virtual Agents to start, but
when you do it, it's still switching over to Power Automate. You're just launching it from there, right?
Right, but before you'd have to actually leave it, right? You could connect the flow to the Power Virtual Agent, but you couldn't edit the flow from that screen. If you double clicked on the flow or right clicked, you wouldn't get a way to edit it. But now you can get there right from the authoring canvas.
Yeah, cool. I'll check that out. I still Power Virtual Agent is something I need to do more with. I've done a lot with Canvas apps, and with Power Automate, I haven't had a use case for Power Virtual Agent yet. So, but I should.
They're a lot of fun. They're a ton of fun, and it's at a time right now where you can do a lot of explorative work with the trials and get a lot of good ideas, especially when you're using it in a consultative capacity with your clients, to give them a really good feel for what they can connect to, what information they can send out of, how it can work with omni-channel, things like that. It's pretty impressive.
I should set up the Joel bot, and instead of talking to my colleagues, I should just have them go to the Joel bot.
You should. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then just set up an FAQ. Actually, you know what I did? I did try to set up a bot from the FAQ on CRM Tip of the Day. And the FAQ structure on CRM Tip of the Day is not very conducive. So it didn't give me a lot of suggested topics.
Well, talk to George.
Yeah, I know.
All right, Shawn.
So, hey, one other thing. How long are you thinking that we're going to have these either canceled or virtual events?
It's hard to say. George's theory is this will at some point just become like the flu is, where it's just one of the things that is kind of a known quantity, and you just watch it. I think what I'm wondering is, Microsoft Business Application Summit. If I was to put money on it, it's I don't know. I think it's up in the air.
Yeah, I would think many of the conferences, especially the very big ones like Ignite, Inspire, I would question whether or not those would even happen this year.
Yeah. At least first half of the year. We just have to see what happens and how things play out, and I understand what it's. If I was Microsoft and I was having thousands of people come someplace where this was going on, if one person got sick or died or something, that would be really bad for them.
Mm-hmm. So, how do you, from an MVP perspective, that significantly reduces the number of available, sessions you could hold?
Yes
right?
and no, but I think you can be an MVP and maintain your MVP without going to any conferences, especially virtual stuff like this, Power Platform 24, other things, publishing YouTube videos. It's about the contributions, but it does change your strategy because, like I've got Ignite the Tour on the 15th of April in Chicago. Currently, that's still on, but that could also change. For a regional event like that, I don't think that has, that doesn't have 10,000 people there. Probably maybe a couple thousand. We'll see. If it's an area that Microsoft is probably looking at the threat level, and stuff in Seattle or California there's more cases there. Where if it's something in Chicago or someplace where there isn't, a regional type event is probably safer than a big national or international event.
Well, you would hope so, but I think what my point really was that exactly what you said. It doesn't mean I was kind of setting it up to say no, it's not that way, But you really just have to be creative in how you can handle a contribution, because things that you might need to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and do more things online. Like, I'm challenging myself to do more stuff on my YouTube channel because I started it and I just got away from me and I just didn't follow through enough with it. So I'm challenging myself to restart that and do more things on a virtual model. I know I missed the last Power 24, but I want to do more stuff there. There's still ways you can make contributions and collaborate in the community. And even if you're not trying to be an MVP, just because there's not a conference, there's still a way to get information and collaborate with others and make your voice heard.
Yeah, and I mean, I've got my D365UG meeting tomorrow, and that's going to be fun. But and then I find the reach and the effectiveness of online content is greater than a conference. I mean, the not so secret is the reason to go to conferences isn't to learn stuff. It's to either speak or network with people.
Right.
So
right. So true.
So it's good. So
no, it's getting late here, so I'm getting a bit cranky. So sorry. I just got distracted. I think, look, we did cover most of the topics we wanted to talk about. So,
you're back home you're back home after this trip?
For the next, pardon?
You're back home after this trip?
Yeah, I'm going home in a couple of days, and I've got a few more travel stories, but I'll hold it until next time. It involves, remind me, it involves customs and Red Bull.
Were you trying to take Red Bull into a country or out of a country?
No, not Red Bull, Red Ball.
Okay, a Red Ball. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell a story, or are you just going to leave us hanging?
I'm going to leave it hanging. I need to work out how to tell the story and keep it PG. So, anyway.
All right. Well, George, and to all our listeners in Scotland, thanks for listening. And Shawn
and
Tabor.
Germany.
Yeah,
we
Germany.
Have Germany base as well.
All right. And again, look at CRM Tip of the Day for videos and blog posts about what you need to know about Wave 1 2020. Great to catch up with you again, George.
Okay. Talk to you later, Joel.